Let's start with that first one then. So, what was life like before we started working together?
Everything was very like chaotic. The school side of things was obviously really chaotic. It was quite a high pressure environment, lots of different things. I felt like I was trying to spin like 500 plates, and yet I wasn't actually spinning any of them. They were all like completely falling. And then work was just taking over my whole life, like everything. If work wasn't going well, life wasn't going well, but also once I got life sort of under control, work would fall apart. Like it was just an absolute mess. And I think I remember saying to you, like, I needed to do something. I was at like a big crisis point and I needed to do something because otherwise I didn't think that I would be able to continue teaching. I'd need to be signed off with stress. And it was just at the point where I just didn't know what to do anymore. And I was like a really big crossroads, I guess. So yeah, I needed somebody, something to step in at that point, definitely.
How was that kind of like showing up in your life in terms of, health, fitness, how you're feeling, those sorts of things?
I just wasn't really like taking care of myself at all. I definitely put work above everything else. And like my relationships with the people around me, like everything was being impacted by how I felt work was going. And yeah, it was just like a big spiral. Like I would go through the classic like burnout cycle of I'd start off a half term really, really well, and then I'd have very like optimistic view on things, and then by the end of the half time I was literally on my knees, and then I'd need that like period of time to recover. I'd spend at least 50% of each like holiday sort of recovering, and that meant just literally isolating myself, shutting myself out. But yeah, it was just leaking into everything. Like everything at home was a mess. Eating properly, like everything was just it was just a mess. And I think that it also was very noticeable at work that I wasn't okay. Like everybody could see that I wasn't okay, but I think because unfortunately the environment wasn't, everyone just had periods of time where everyone was not okay. So I just assumed it was just like a normal part of teaching. Like everyone just gets a bit stressed sometimes, which is true, but it wasn't, it was like a bit beyond, I think it was a bit beyond the standard level of stress, but it was just it was so normalised within my school that I just thought this was just how it is. I had quite a lot of like negative feelings about myself, like both about my appearance and just generally my body and all of those things, but also like a lot of my self worth was not very good at all. I based my self worth entirely on how work was going, and my well being was practically non existent. I would go in cycles of stress all the time. I didn't know how it felt to not be stressed as well, which is like quite awful. Like it's not like a livable experience if you're just stressed all the time. Yeah, so it was not brilliant, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously we worked together for quite a long time. Is there anything that stands out particularly for you in terms of strategies we've tried, or anything at all from our time that sort of stands out for you that has particularly been helpful?
I think something that sort of stuck with me and like feeds into all of them quite well is like changing my mindset into previously done it where like I've been like, right, it's January, or oh right, it's a new term or whatever, it's a new year. I'm gonna overhaul everything at once. But obviously that's just not realistic. So sort of building up a foundation of like key things that I always have in place. And I think I heard you say somewhere like if the wall comes down, like they're still there. So things like getting in movement in the morning, or like you said, I've done so many different things, but things like, making sure there's water and like easy access, like just building those habit stacking, just those, and then all of those things kind of tied into my like shift in my mindset. And then some of those like awkward conversations, like things like asking for PPA at home. Like I never would have, and it's something really quite small, but I never would have bothered to even ask because I was like, well, what if someone says no? And then just the shift in my mindset generally, I feel like all the conversations that we have and like the sort of accountability within myself, setting a goal and saying I'm going to get there and breaking it down rather than saying I'm going to run a marathon next week. And then like when I don't get there, there's that gap between expectation and then what actually happens. That's also quite important, and something that's sort of been quite useful for me is thinking about that gap between what I'm expecting and actually what happens, and just being patient. Actually, it's not always a linear journey from there to there. Sometimes it's like all over the place, and that's absolutely fine. So all of those things have sort of changed my mindset.
That's awesome. And speaking of running as well, obviously we've got to cover the running medals and progress and achievements that you've had. So what are, you know, some of the big wins that you've had? Like what are the big achievements?
Well, obviously, like doing 2 races that are like not a 5K. 5K is obviously amazing as it is, but doing 2 10Ks and then like being proud of myself and changing my mindset around a run as well. Like thinking about just doing the run in itself is sometimes the milestone. Doesn't matter how fast you go. But going for runs before work, that would not have been on my radar at all before. And setting myself up for the day, like laying everything out the night before, planning it out, almost booking it in with myself so I feel it's sort of set in stone. And doing things like going to a run club session or all of those things, because I'd done like Couch to 5K and we'd had that conversation about, oh, I'm still quite slow, but like going slowly, like running slowly is still running. It doesn't really matter. No one decides you're a runner. You just, if you run, you're a runner. So it doesn't really matter how quick you go or if you need to walk in between or whatever. And just thinking of it as like, it's meant to be good for your well-being. It's not meant to be a punishment. So why am I like pacing it down the road if I'm going to be in agony? There's no point to that. So changing my whole mindset about that has definitely, been quite a big thing. I don't have to run 5K every morning. A short run is fine. A quick run, like it's all whatever you can fit into your day. It's definitely something I've sort of taken forward as well.
What's one sort of mindset shift? I mean, there's amazing ones there, and the whole running thing, you know, that is an amazing analogy just for well-being in general. But is there anything else in terms of mindset shift or a saying or a phrase or anything like that that you would like to share with teachers who maybe were in the position that you were?
Yeah, there's kind of two. The first one's, I know you just asked for one, but I'll give you two. So the first one is the finish lines, not finish times. That one is one that I like literally love. And then the other one that it's not really a saying, but it was more just like, just go for 10 minutes. Like I'd just go for 10 minutes. If I didn't want to go, I'd tell myself, just run for 10 minutes. And if you don't want to, after 10 minutes, just come back home again. 99% of the time, you don't just go for 10 minutes. You end up going for longer.
And is there anything else that kind of jumps out of your mind in terms of like the program or what's good about it or anything like that?
I think it's just so revolutionary to have somebody who's advising you on like well-being and health that's actually been in the situation, because it would be quite easy for you to message a coach on Instagram and, you know, them not have that experience. But unless you've been in the classroom and been a teacher yourself, you don't actually understand what it's like to live as a teacher. And, you know, I know it's so variable, like every school's so different, but you've got that like experience, that lived experience of what it's like to be a teacher and trying to improve yourself. But then the other thing is like just knowing that you're sort of part of a group of people in a community that want to do better. So like going on the like team walks that we went on and like meet up and stuff, and just talking to other people and knowing that you're not alone in, you know, you're not like in an echo chamber at your school where, you know, you say something and people go, well, yeah, but we've always done that. So you just sort of think, right, so that's just how it is. And then you're actually talking to people and you're saying, no, but they do that. So that it doesn't just have to always be that way. So yeah, the community of like teachers, but also your like experience and expertise definitely stand out for me.
What would you say to someone who was thinking about joining the team?
If you have like any bit of you that is just uncomfortable, or, you know, you're like on burnout, or I really think I need to do something, just like do it. Just message you, and just because it's, I know it seems really scary, but actually it's not. Like, it's the best thing I ever did for myself, to be honest. If I was like writing a book about my life, this would be like the second part of the book where like everything turns around. So yeah, so just do it. Just don't stop worrying about it. Stop fretting, oh, am I going to look silly? Just do it. Just message you. I'm like a different person. I feel like I've lived like 20 lives. It's just mad. I feel like if I was to write down everything like that has changed or like that's happened since I started working with you, like the list is so long.
I love that. I love the book analogy. That's awesome. And also just really nice to hear as well.